You're listening to Tipped Off, where leaders across the service industry share insights on operations, tech, and team success, powered by TipHaus.
Hello and welcome again. Today we have Bryan Gorman from AllianceHCM, one of our amazing partners over here at TipHaus, and someone we're very thankful to talk to. Not only is he an unbelievable franchise account executive, but he also has a secret podcast that he likes to run with us, and really excited to hear from him. So Bryan, would you mind introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about yourself and Alliance, and maybe a little bit about that podcast as well?
Oh, absolutely. Thanks, Kirk, for having me on. Certainly appreciate the opportunity. And again, my name is Bryan Gorman. I am a enterprise franchise account executive at AllianceHCM. I work specifically in the QSR space in different brands, helping owner-operators in the areas of payroll, HR, really maximizing the entire hire-to-retire platform with payroll and HR. And work with several brands, including McDonald's here in the Midwest. I'm located in South Bend, Indiana here. And then I work with KFC franchises across the country, and Little Caesars as well are my assigned brands. Now, we obviously do other brands as well, but those are the ones that I'm responsible for. And worked in the payroll HR space for about 25 years. So have really handled every role in the payroll HR industry, as except for owning my own company, I guess, but I've done everything else. Sometimes it feels like I do own my own company, but really I'm a big customer experience guy at heart. I love tackling problems in the areas of payroll and HR, and just it's one of those unique industries where everybody needs those solutions. So you never run out of prospects. There's always somebody you can call. And I think here at AllianceHCM, we do an incredible job focusing on the QSR space, the brands that we work with and serve. And I think I did a talk at a conference this summer, and I think I Googled how many payroll HR companies there are out there in the country right now. Yeah, I think it's absolutely close to almost 7,000, I think. And it's like, man, how do you, I sometimes get the question answered, how do you separate yourself? And I think at Alliance, we've been doing this since the late 80s. Our fifth client back when we got started was actually a McDonald's owner operator that's still a client today. Oh, nice. So we're proud of what we do, how we approach our day-to-day service and interaction with our clients, and feel like that we have a unique niche and do an incredible job with that. Like you mentioned, Kirk, the podcast I do as well. I do have a podcast called the Shift Change Podcast, where I do interview quick service restaurant franchisees, talk about payroll and HR topics, and share their stories as well. So thanks for the plug there. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, thanks for jumping on with us today. Yeah. And something, it's a crowded space, certainly, but I will say of all the partners, we have a number of mutual customers. It really seems that they do truly love Alliance. And this is, y'all are primarily, or should I say exclusively, focused on restaurants. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's about 70% of our business does come from the restaurant space. So I would say, yeah, we have a very unique niche that we serve, but obviously we do other payrolls as well. Manufacturing. We have several dental partnerships that we have in place too, and have those that we serve as well. But we have a very unique niche, and I know we talked before we went live here, but it's really integrations is a big piece of what we do. So in the restaurant space, point of sale systems, front of house, back of house systems. Data flow is important from a time that you're bringing someone on, from an applicant perspective, to go through the onboarding to start working at the locations, to whether it's a 401k or whether it's some of the other benefits they might get, when they actually get their pay stub, how are they accessing their information? There's just so many moving parts in the quick service restaurant space. So I think at Alliance, we do an incredible job of making sure our system is communicating to those other systems to make the franchises' lives easier, to get data when they need it, to make decisions faster, just to be more nimble, and to make sure that they can get what they need quickly from our system and from the systems that we communicate with.
I love it. And that's such a critical component. If you are not integrating, if you're not working and meeting those operators where they are, no one got into running a restaurant specifically to be an IT individual, right? So
right.
Something, anytime you can help out there. But you mentioned, and I love the line, from hire to retire. I want to drive in a little bit on that hire front, as it's such a hot button topic.
Sure.
Tell me, can you share any best practices to the listeners that you've seen using, you're looking to reduce that time to hire, limiting how much resources, time, money you're expending on all of that effort from your team, getting them in, making sure you're still finding quality candidates though. So what does that look like? What do you see as the best operators out there today are doing?
Yeah, I think that the best owner operators today are really minimizing, friction really at every step in the process. I think of our system and people that are out there looking for these type of roles, and how are they finding? Are they going to Indeed? Are they going to LinkedIn? Those types of different sites to be able to get access to apply for these roles. I know when we talk about a McDonald's owner operator that we work with, McHire is a popular system that they use. We integrate with that, and being able to use your phone to scan a QR code to fill out the application online, to have that feed into our onboarding system. There's so many ways to be able to eliminate that process, make it easy for the candidate to apply. I think is huge. And I think being able to once you're done applying for that role, what's that next step look like, and are you communicating with them quickly? Are they, if they get that offer to start and work at your organization, what's that look like? Are you clear with what the expectations are with those candidates? Because obviously they're going to in today's world, they can go to Chat GPT or to
Sure.
Claude or what have you, and Google your company, or
They can and they will, right?
and they can and they will. And I think it's critical to make that part really frictionless on the front end, make it easy, because that way they're looking like, what's my world going to look like if I decide to work here? It's so critical. And I've seen owner operators that do this well really succeed on getting some really strong talent in the door, because they're making it easy to apply. They're communicating very well with what that process looks like. And then when they actually go to onboard, that employee knows what's going to happen from the time that they start that process to the time that they're starting on day one. And there's excitement in that, because they say, hey, this employer has it together. They know what's going on. They're not just walking in the door on day one and then not sure what to do, which nobody wants it anywhere. So I think that is huge. I think that's that's a best practice I've seen, is just making sure that you communicate very well with the candidates, and they make it easy to find you. And then, if your systems aren't talking to each other yet, make sure that your systems are doing that to make that data flow, very, very simple and very seamless.
I love that. And I love, reducing the friction on every step, but it also, it sets expectations for them, not only for day one, but beyond, right? You want to make sure they come in optimistic about it. They think you have your ducks in a row. I can't tell you how many restaurants I feel just through their hiring process, that candidate may be already looking for another job before day one, because it's been such a mess, right? And so we're all competing with talent more than ever. So as owners, operators, I think that's a great piece to drive forward. Tell me a little bit from the candidate experience, putting yourself in the other shoes. How has that candidate experience evolved over the last few years? Obviously, things are changing quick, but why does it matter? What does this experience matter so much for retention? Again, before someone steps foot in the door, as you alluded to.
Yeah, I think candidates really today are essentially, as we mentioned, shopping for employers the same way we shop on Amazon. I guess they're reading reviews on Indeed, asking and Googling about your company, comparing benefits. I think benefits is another area too. Agreed. that people are looking at it and looking even before they even apply for a job. What's this benefit? What do I need from a benefit perspective? And then what are they offering? I mean, things like, obviously, direct deposit. Earned wage access is huge right now too in our space, where can an employee access their funds early? So we have plenty of partners we work with on that side too that we're able to work with, and candidates can see that as a benefit as well. But that's a huge shift in that hiring process. Because if your application is clunky, if they sit in the lobby for 30 minutes, waiting for the interview or waiting for somebody to come get them, and no one follows up with them, they're already deciding this is really not a place I want to be at. The lack of engagement is a big predictor on how their day one experience is going to be. So it's so different, I think, from what it used to be. And from a quick service restaurant perspective, again, it just goes back to, take a look at your process. One, evaluate it, see where you might be missing some of those gaps. You can maybe improve upon that to get that talent in the door that is going to stay and going to be someone that you can, from a manager or even from a, crew member perspective, and making sure that you can, because they're looking for other roles too. Absolutely. And how can you separate yourself as an organization to bring that talent in the door?
100%. And that's what's going to make or break so many of these operators today is, can you keep talent? Can you retain it? And, can you hold it longer than what the average tenure right now is 9 to 10 months, maybe?
Right.
it's something, if we can hold on just a little bit longer, we're dramatically lowering our hiring cost. And that shows up on the bottom line for you year over year. So
Definitely.
we talk from the from the applicant standpoint. Obviously, it's easier than ever. They, instead of needing to know all of this themselves, they can say, hey, I'm a first time server, I'm a first time individual, I'm a first time crew member coming in. What should I know? What benefits should I ask for? How should I think about it? Right? Easier than ever from their standpoint. To a degree, I think it can also be easier for operators if they're willing to adopt and embrace some of this technology. So tech is everywhere in HR and hiring. As you're mentioning, 7,000 groups that are out there being able to offer something similar to it. But where should operators lean into these, both on the HR side, both on the scheduling, all of the fun stuff that they have available to them, the things that they get outreach emails, I'm sure every day, it's saying that we have the best tools for it. But
Right.
where do you think operators should be leaning in? Where do you think you've seen over automation say, hey, you're solving a problem that never really existed?
I love that question. I think that, and I love tech, HR tech anyway.
Sure.
So, but I think that, leaning into, the administrative side of things like online applications, automating your interview process, digital onboarding, just ways you can maybe cut that administrative time and manual work that your team might be doing. I'd lean heavily into how can we automate that? How can we remove friction there as well in making that process easy. So if you take and I'm going to use McDonald's again as an example because we do so well in that space, is like, hey, from the applicant perspective, where you're going to that McHire product, once that piece is done, it's automatically sending me, kind of use me as the guinea pig. You're going to hire me, for example. I go to that system. I go through the process. I do get hired. That automatically sends an email to me that takes me right into the Alliance portal to begin to fill out my application, or not my application, my I-9, my W-4, my compliance documents. And then we can customize that entire portal for them where, hey, maybe it's a food safety document that we need to sign off on, or maybe it's a video that they need to watch. And we can customize it to the point. I got a client in Ohio that their owner operator went and did like a nice little welcome video welcoming them to the organization, which is a nice touch that they can start getting somebody into the door that's, hey, they're excited to have me on board. I would lean heavily on how can we automate that piece of it. In our space, on the work opportunity tax credit is huge. At Alliance, we have our own WOTC division that allows people to tax credit. And again, there's some paperwork behind that, but our system automates that, allows our team to file that paperwork that you need to get a credit. And not everybody qualifies for it, but if they do, sure, we're taking care of it for them. And then that's more money back in the owner operator's pocket as well. So there are things that, hey, if you're going to look at HR tech anyway, I would invest heavily on how can we remove that manual piece of what our managers are doing and automate that as well. So that's huge. I think, to your point earlier too, about, what areas are maybe too heavily. I think we spoke before going live too, is just the automated, drive-throughs in the AI piece. And then, yep. AI is so great. It's awesome. It's obviously not going anywhere. And I think, in my opinion, we should all embrace it, but you just don't want to eliminate that human touch. You go into a restaurant, there's a human element to it as well. I'd lean heavily into that. I would avoid maybe just, hey, don't go too far into eliminating the people side of it. I think that's something that still needs to be some caution around that.
100. It's the hospitality industry, right? We've got to have those people around, and the robots following you feels a little dystopian. It depends how friendly your staff is to make up for it. So,
right. Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah, plays, man. Tell me, if you're looking forward, obviously, you're keeping your eyes on what's going on today and in the future, Alliance as a whole, and you, of course, in your role with it. But what's a shift you see for franchise hiring specifically, or franchise HR over the next few years? What do you see coming down?
Yeah, I think we're seeing a fundamental restructuring, I think, really of how restaurants really staff their people, having a large crew of part-time people, seeing more owner operators will move forward to smaller teams. I kind of see that happening a lot as well, really kind of supplemented by the technology and maybe more of a part-time staff. So I think the economics are pushing that direction. So I think that that's one shift I see coming. I think that the owner operators who figure out how to really build stable, engaged teams will have really a bigger competitive advantage. Again, there's just so many options out there on the QSR side, but it's like, how are you able to build just some stability within your organization, have high quality talent working extremely well with you and kind of helping you as the owner operator. One major shift that I think you're just going to see. I think maybe crews get smaller as well. So, yep.
No, I think that's a great piece, and that's actually a great segue, something I want to chat with you about. Minimum wage, obviously a hot button topic right now, and wages are rising, whether it's, typically starting in the West in California and kind of early precedent of what's coming through the nation. But as we look at that, several states have adopted it. Many cities particularly have. So with wages rising, do you think we're going to see more creative staffing models emerge into QSR, FSR, hospitality as a whole here?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, in some ways we're already seeing it. I think that I've seen some owner operators kind of experimenting with a 4-day work week, from some of their managers, maybe creating a hybrid role where someone works, 3 days in the restaurant and maybe doing some admin work remotely. It's just you're seeing different things happening. To your point, it has to be addressed. Obviously, we come into a new year. We're recording in December, and then January I'll have start a new year. I'm sure there'll be some minimum wage changes and some compliance changes coming down the pike next year as well. But I think just maybe looking at ways they can experiment with those different roles too. And if it makes sense to do something like that, then I think I would look into it, explore it. Maybe that's going to help with that. But maybe working in different locations is something that maybe managers can be responsible for different areas and in different locations if you have multiple locations as well.
Absolutely.
And maybe some partnerships with some staffing agencies too to help with specific roles or peak times that it might be a way to explore as well. Something that might be unique. But again, I think we're already seeing that hybrid role. I mean, we see it in our world too. Days in the office, days at home. It's just that could apply to quick service as well. Just something to look into and to monitor as well as we go into 2026.
I think that's the great call out, is just be aware of it, right? Pay attention. If it's not something you're planning on adopting immediately, at least find someone who is and monitor their progress, right? It's something that maybe you avoid a pitfall, or maybe you get to be an early adopter after you see it and say, hey, we want to be part of this. This looks like a great method to move forward. So
absolutely.
Switching gears slightly on you, Bryan, there's a few questions I always like to ask my guest, and particularly excited when it's a partner, not a fellow restaurant operator. So, first and foremost on these, I always want to start with, we're going to judge your taste here quite harshly. So tell me, tell me a little bit about, your favorite restaurant concept or brand, Bryan. What does it do? Why does it stand out to you? What makes you love it?
I got to do a couple. Big Chick-fil-A fan. I just think the way that they operate, it's just very unique and different, and they stand out in that space. I think they do an incredible job. It's kind of my favorite go-to. I do have a daughter in college that has discovered Everbowl. She's big into the acai bowls. Goes there, I think, at least once a day, I think. But that's her go-to. And when I went down to visit her last time, we went to it too. Loved it. Fell in love with it. I think it's a great concept as well. But those are my two favorite.
I think those are great, man. Chick-fil-A is, the leader of the pack, and there's no one even close, right? The level of service you're able to get there, the consistency, unbelievable. When you look at I'm assuming their hiring processes, their training ties right into what you've looked at as their team are always exceptional. So, zooming out, and you can apply this towards the HR, the payroll side, or you can kind of take on a more holistic view of it if you see it. But tell me, greatest challenge facing restaurants 3 or more years from now. What do you see coming down the pike? What either keeps you up, or when you're working with these owners, operators, what's keeping them up at night that they see coming?
And kind of taking more of a payroll HR piece of this is just maybe continuing to stay manual. I see this all the time, but there are so many restaurant groups that are still kind of lost in the manual side of things and maybe not embracing the technology side. I think that keeps me up at night because I can see that there are ways that, we can help them as an organization get out from under that, I guess, the operational burden, the administrative burden of things that, on the HR payroll compliance side of things, there are systems out there, whether you use Alliance or not. There are different ways that you can help improve your operations immensely, which can, help feed your bottom line as well. I think that's something that, it's just helping them to understand that, hey, we could look at, ways we might be, can we improve our onboarding process we still have some people that go in and I talked with a group the other day. they saw their employees go in or hires go in and fill out their information or manually.
Oh, no.
There are ways to do it electronically now. It's just to save time and effort.
Yep.
And I just think that if they could embrace that side of things, they just don't know what's out there. And I think, hey, it's 2025. We're getting into 2026. That's an excuse, not really an excuse anymore. You need to be able to say, hey, it's about time that you explore it. So that's something huge. I think that's one big challenge that I see that is facing the QSR space. And
how would you help an operator get over, like, if you're looking at them, anyone who's still filling things out pen and paper, you say, okay, there's obviously a better way. And let's be honest, you've heard of better ways. People have reached out to you,
right.
How do you get them over that mental hurdle? Is it the idea that they're, they don't have the time to invest today and they just keep rolling it down the road? What do you think it is to help them get over that and bring in some technology that truly can save them a ton of time and headache?
A proof of concept is showing them, hey, and you can have them talk to other owner operators that maybe I've worked with, I can introduce them to, and just that maybe have been in their shoes, that kind of explain how this impacted them. I think that's the way we could do it as well. I just think that there are certain reports you can give them that speak to your security as an organization and say, hey, that we have thousands of organizations using this solution, and it's something that it's tried and true, and it's really helped. And I think, again, building that business case for them to say, hey, we can help you do this. We can help you really save a ton of money and put more money back in your pocket. Wouldn't you want to do that? I've been in payroll so long that I remember just so many manual things, but I'm dating myself a little bit, but I remember Palm Pilots, it's like now, but you can embrace that technology. It's there for you to be able to use now. And it's something that I just hate for you to be in a spot where you're continuing to do things this way. And it's really placing a burden upon your team. And it's really something that you could help to, again, move the business forward. Growth wise than you are today. If you just took a look at it, maybe taking it a step at a time too, and not, you don't have to do it all at once. There are things we can help them bring on in steps or stages, get them used to it. And then, maybe take it one step at a time, one bite at a time, if you will. And just from a service perspective is, hey, from a sales perspective, we're staying engaged with our clients, bringing best practices to them and saying, hey, we can help you with, let's try the onboarding piece first. Let's do that and automate that for you. And then if we're going to, we can help you along the way, help you build this out, get some feedback from you, train your GMs, help get some feedback. And then if we want to move to automate more, we can just do that as well. So
it's a great way to do it. Let them get to know you a little bit well first. And I completely agreed on the idea that, it's, where could your business be if you were on top of these items, right? I mean, we see it like, HR and payroll, I'm sure, doesn't seem like a massive time savings every day, but it does in every pay period. We do the same with tips, which is, what if your manager had 30, 45 minutes back a day? What if your employees felt that they had some time back? What does that do from a cost savings, from the ability to engage with your guests more out on the floor, from the ability to have that trust? So if you can take those steps, highly recommend it. Mm-hmm. I've got two more for you. One, sure. Mess around here a little bit, but tell me, everyone who's worked in the hospitality industry has a horror story. And, I'd love to hear yours, Bryan. What's something that you were a part of, just a true hospitality horror story, and any learnings from it, I should say, or was it just something so chaotic? There's no lesson to be learned here.
I'm racking my brain on really a bad hospitality horror story. I don't know if I really have one. I've just heard of, maybe I've had staffs or teams approach me that maybe have been, burnt out and really just don't know how how they can help get out from under the burnout of working 50, 60, 70, 80 hours. Sometimes you need to do that, but in the restaurant industry, sometimes you do. And I think that, just having owner operators be mindful of, that is something that happens from time to time, and teams feel that, but don't voice that. Maybe I think just catching that ahead of time is something that we could do as owner operators too, and helping to manage that process and I think, I'm not saying people don't do a bad job of that, but that's just one area I think that it could present risk of people maybe leaving the organization. Yeah. So that could lead to a horror story as well, where people walking out the door and you don't expect it.
Yeah, plenty of those horror stories of them, where you have a whole team walk out. And to your point, I mean, give them an easy way. This whole topic in a way revolves around reducing friction, right? Finding ways to reducing frictions around employees feeling comfortable to mention, hey, we need to rotate out, we need to burn out, we need to do whatever we have to do here because you're about to lose 8 of your servers and a bartender, on the same night.
Right.
And it doesn't go well for the business after that, right? So
absolutely.
A good piece to it. Final piece. I want you to, look forward here with me. Tell me 2 trends that, you think are already here or are coming. And I always like to frame this in the manner of tell me one of these trends that, you believe in. You say, hey, all the restaurant owners, operators, when I put on my consultative hat and I engage with them, I say, you've got to be aware of this, right? This trend is coming. You need to embrace it. You need to adopt it. You need to be aware of it. And then tell me one that, I'll call it as just a fad. You look at it and you say, hey, I'm never going to advise someone to absorb that. If they want to, fine, but I don't personally believe in it. And so what trends do you see are sparked to mind when I mention that?
Yeah. Well, I think we talked a little bit about it earlier in the conversation, but around AI, I think that the AI piece is huge. It's here to stay. I think that we need to find different ways to embrace it. I think that the example we talked about with, again, driving up to the drive-through and it's the first person that you talk to is really, it's an automated voice, right? I think that I've seen some stories too lately. Can't remember where I saw this, but I think that some brands concepts are trying to get away from that and going back to that, first interaction being the human interaction. So I think that I still believe in it. I think that in QSR, we're going to have to find creative ways to use it. It could help with scheduling or with labor optimization and reporting. I think absolutely a different way to be able to help manage the business from using AI to help with that type of thing. So I think that's huge. I think the ones that are going to use are going to see real results. I just don't think that, and again, the human element, I think that getting rid of that, I just don't see how that, at least now and for the foreseeable future, I think the human element is still important. It's still, how are you greeted when you go to a QSR or to any restaurant for, what's that look like? What's that experience look like? Again, coming from a customer experience perspective, I think that's huge. And I think it's going to help for repeat customers as well. Getting repeat business in the door is huge for these franchisees. And I think that can you embrace AI technology? Yes. But on the flip side of that, making sure that you don't lose the human element as you're trying to explore ways you can bring it into your business.
I love that. And I've heard, with many of our guests that AI ends up on both sides of that equation, right? It's kind of a twofold piece of something we're embracing, something we also think is partly a fad, and there's plenty of elements to it. And it's all encompassing, right? You can AI everything, but, you've got to make sure you're doing it to the right areas. And agreed, humans are the foundational piece. No one is coming in to chat with robots all day with it. Find ways to make them feel like they made that human touch. That's why we left our house. That's why we enjoy being out. And we are social creatures at the end of the day with it. Well, with that, Bryan, I can't thank you enough for jumping on. I do want to ask, if people wanted to get in touch with you or if they wanted to find out where to listen to your podcast, where would they go?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm big on LinkedIn, so you can find me Bryan Gorman, Bryan Gorman, and that's where you'll find me. I'm most active on LinkedIn. You can email me too, bgorman@AllianceHCM.com. And then the podcast is called the Shift Change Podcast. It's on Spotify, and I'd love to have anybody wants to be on as a guest. Always looking for guests, so would love to have you on as well. And you can reach me on that same email address for that too.
That is outstanding. Well, Bryan, thank you again. I really appreciate you jumping on and spreading the wealth of knowledge with Alliance and payroll and HR in general. And cannot thank you enough for jumping on with us.
Kirk, thanks so much. Great to be with you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to Tipped Off, the podcast for the service industry. For more tools and insights, visit TipHaus.com.